Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen in front of you right now, today's installment is going to be taking a closer look at the brand new Jada Toys Ultra Street Fighter 2 E.Honda Figure. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know. So if you've been thinking about picking up E.Honda for yourself, you'll have good information to make an informed decision. I'm going to kick things off by jumping back in time and taking a look at the packaging on the day it arrived on my doorstep. Then we'll move into the figure itself and we'll talk about E.Honda's aesthetic and visual experience. Then take a look at his articulation and posability, have a good rundown of his accessories and figure out whether they're added value or not. Pop him next to a couple of other Jada Toys Ultra Street Fighter 2 figures as well to get a sense of how he displays in amongst the line. And with all that said and done, you'll have good thorough information to know whether you want to crack your wallet or purse open for E.Honda. So let's get into it and let's jump back in time to visit past Chris, taking a look at the box on the day it arrived on my doorstep. Here we go. All right then, folks, well, here is E.Honda in packaging. This big lad's, he's in a big box. He's a bit large for my little action figure stage area here, but I've crammed it in nonetheless, and you can see that it's the standard Ultra Street Fighter 2 packaging from Jada Toys that, you know, they've had throughout the whole line. Got the big window in the center showing off the figure and all the goodies, and then the arcade machine motif surrounding it with the artwork at the bottom and the name of the character E.Honda there. Then on the back, we've got the figure in an action-y type pose, the logo, the checklist of all the characters from the line. Got the anime-style artwork on the side there, and then more of the anime-style artwork on the other side with the little bit of biographical information in several different languages. The country of origin, Japan, fighting style, Japanese sumo wrestling. And there we go. There's E.Honda in packaging for those who are minting box. Certainly got a lot of peg presents. I've said this before. I like this idea of the arcade machine motif with the big figure window in the center, showing off the goodies. I think it sells well. I've seen it on the shelf in a standard high street toy store over here in the UK, Smith's Toys, and they definitely have a lot of personality and character. But with all that said, I'm not minting box. I'm going to be cracking this bad boy open, getting good and hands-on. Going to pose him up, display him up, take some photos with him, see what he looks like next to my other Jada Toys Ultra Street Fighter 2 figures, jot down a few review thoughts and come back and share them. So stick around. Future Chris is going to be with you in 3, 2, 1. Okay then, folks, well, let's move on to the review section of the video now, and here is E.Honda as he came out of the packaging, and we're going to talk about the visual experience and the aesthetic qualities of the figure. And as always, I'm going to start with a full head-to-toe look at E.Honda there. And, you know, is E.Honda? Straight away, all the key visual identifying features are there. The facial design, you know, the face paint, etc., the hairstyle. He's got his, what's this called? Is it the Kishi? Oh, Jesus. Total brain fart, live on mic there, on a hot mic. Someone let me know in the comments down below what the ornamental robe over the top of his what's it called? Mawashi? Oh, God. So ignorant. Such an ignorant Brit. I don't know about sumo terminology. But all the key identifying features are there. The physique, you know, the body shape, the physique, the sumo wrestler physique that we know and love of E.Honda's specialism in the game. Yeah, it's all present and correct. Getting in a little closer then, let's take a look at some of the finer details. And here is that head sculpt I was talking about before. Great facial features, good sculpt in there. The paint applications for his face paint, his eyebrows, his eyes themselves, all present and correct. Very neatly applied, up to standard with Jada Toys and their Ultra Street Fighter 2 line. Obviously, as well, consistent, maintaining that kind of video game, cartoony style aesthetic that we've seen with the line so far too, in terms of some of the kind of softer edges and the colour choices there, and of course on the rest of the figure. We've got the sculpted textured detail in the hair as well, and then a little bit of a paint application on the little bobble, holding it up at the top there. And then coming further down into the figure, you can see all that musculature in his sumo wrestler physique, all well sculpted in with lots of fine details. You can see stuff down the arms like the veins, the kind of six-packy thing going on top of his gut, and so on and so forth. And then there is these little sort of dry brushed areas, just to give it a little bit more depth and a bit more texture, particularly because obviously he's got a limited amount of outfit compared to other figures in the line, and it would probably look a bit kind of stark in that pale skin tone if it was just straight up kind of skin tone plastic. You can see more of that sculpted musculature here down the back as well. And coming further down the figure, you can see the colour of the kind of skirt piece here, the blue and white that is consistent with the colour scheme that that he wears in the Street Fighter 2 game. It's got several sort of rubbery plastic pieces layered on top of each other to give it some three-dimensional depth, and there's some fabric texture detail in there. And then if I lift him up, and we have a little peek under the skirt here, folks, you can see that we've got the paint application and the sculpted detail even on his Moashi. If it is indeed called the Moashi, I'm still doubting myself on a hot mic. I should check this shit before I record. I was watching a live stream the other day where people were talking about like things that annoy them about reviewers, and it's when they say shit that's wrong and don't stop it and check it. But I'm plowing on regardless. It's all about the workflow, folks, you see. But yeah, even that detail underneath there, even though it's likely not to be seen at all. And you can see more of that layering and texture detail here around the back as well. And then his legs, much the same as up the top. The skin tone is consistent on the legs as with the rest of the body, so there's no like kind of weird clashes there. The musculature, again, is consistent in scale and shape and style as with the rest of the body. And then he's got his nice little sculpted toes. And what else is there to say? It's E.Honda. It's a big old Japanese sumo wrestler dude. And it's a very well sculpted one, particularly at this price point, So not a great deal else to say. Other than, I suppose, the same point I make every time I review a Jada Toys Ultra Street Fighter 2. Your mileage will vary as to how into that kind of computer gamey, cartoony style aesthetic that they've chosen to go for on the line. If it doesn't appeal to you, then it's just not going to appeal to you, is it? Whereas it appeals to me. And I like that sort of design choice that they've made there. And he looks, you'll see later on when I put him next to some other characters, once again, very consistent, tonally, with that kind of that visual identifying feature of a Jada Toys Ultra Street Fighter 2 line. You know what I mean? So all good. I think I'm going to give aesthetically a thumbs up. Right, okay, so there's that bit done. Let's now move on to talk about his articulation and posability, shall we? And just before we crack on with that, I'll point out that I put chapters in, folks. There's timestamps there, so if you want to just jump straight forward to see the accessories and added value section of the review, you can do. I know some folks are less interested in the articulation rundowns in videos. However, if this is the first Jada Toys Street Fighter 2 figure review you've ever watched, or you're interested to know if there's any particular quirks, which, spoiler alert, there's one area that I want to talk about in particular, and then stick around and I'll run you through it, and I'll get started up top with the head. And E.Honda here has got a ball at the base of the neck, ball in the base of the skull, which gives you down to there, gives you up to there. You can full through. Oh, right, I was going to talk about that. I'll come back to that in a minute. But you can full 360 all the way around. And there's lots of tilt and swivel and such like. But as you've just seen, the ball at the top there sits very shallow in the matching port on the inside of the head. Now, I know why they've done that. They've done that so that you can sort of angle it forward and have him sort of sumo wrestlery, and it accommodates the hairline at the back there. But I keep popping it off. He's popping off, and kind of sits sort of high up on the neck. So I've had a bit of trouble with that, and it's the first time I've experienced that with the Jada Toys. Then moving down into the arms and shoulders, we've got the butterfly joint, and it's one of those ones that I noticed on Balrog that sort of doesn't just go forward and back, but it's got a full 3 swivel motion in there. Then it's a peg and a hinge that allows you to do a full 360 all the way around and T-shape him out like so. You then got a swivel at the top of the bicep and tricep, pinless double elbow that'll get you up to there. And then pegged in hands that can move in the wrist. And all the hands, these closed fist ones and the hand swaps that we'll look at in a minute, have got the forward and back hinge on them. Then coming down into the torso, it's the barbell joint across the middle there, and then the ball joint in the waist. So you've got crunch forward like that. You can get him back like so. Lots of swivel and motion in there to pose him up in various fighty kind of poses. And then coming down into the legs, you can see it's the ball joints at the hips there. So you could get him forward to about there, and you can sort of ballet split him out like that. But it's very restricted. I find leg motion a little bit difficult with this guy. So for someone who I want to sort of get like sort of proper out like this, a bit tricky. The way this skirt piece comes down is obstructional. I've tried spinning it a bit to get that bit there, like so. But however, you've got the range of motion in there, and there's also swivel at the top of the thigh as well. Got the pinless double knee. You can't really tell, but it gets you all to there's then an ankle swivel at the top of the ankle, and a hinge and rocker, in the feet with the toe articulation hinge as well. So the articulation's good, but I have to say, for the first time with the Jada Toys figure, I've struggled a little bit with posing him up. The whole leg thing I was talking about a moment ago, I get it. I mean, the figure's design makes it hard to sort of find that sort of central point of gravity to get him to independently stand. The way the feet are sculpted and designed makes it a little bit difficult to sometimes make the best use of the rockers on the ankles there. You can't get in to use the knees. Like I want the knee, that front knee piece here, you know, all a bit tricky. But it's to do with obviously the physique, the body shape, the design of this skirt piece. So the articulation's there. I just think it's perhaps a limit of my skill and my imagination sometimes to engage with it. Because I'm impatient. I'm just big, heavy-handed, impatient dude who wants to pose his figure the way he wants to pose it straight away. You know what I mean? So you may do better if you're more talented, more skilled, and more patient than I with that. But I've had a little trouble down here, and then I don't know what's going on with that ball on the head, but I keep popping it off. Like, you know, when I've been trying to pose him up in certain poses. However, that said, the Jada Toys articulation standard is present across the entire figure. It's just, like I say, the body shape of the figure and the design of his skirt piece just getting in the way. And, you know, hey, how many figures have I got where I can't use the full articulation because of an outfit design? You know, there's an IP, so it has to, you know, they're going for the accurate outfit design. So yeah, there you go. There's the articulation, folks. Make of that what you will. All right, let's now take a look at his accessories and his added value, shall we? And to start us off, we've got the alternative head sculpt here. And just as comes as standard with the Jada Toys Street Fighter 2 line, we've got that kind of serious face that was on him when he came out the box. There it is. And then we've got a kind of action, shouty, growly face. In this instance, a shouty face. And you can see it's up to the standard, again, of the other head sculpt. The facial features are well sculpted in there. Lovely paint applications on the teeth and the tongue in the mouth, but then all the rest that was present on the other head sculpt is consistent. The eyes, the eyebrows, the little top knot piece there, all consistent. So yeah, good. It's very expressive and of course very suitable for a kind of character from a combat game. And E.Honda comes with a couple of hand swaps, again, standard with the Jada Toys Street Fighter 2 line. These are open palm, grippy hands, you know, wrestler grabby type hand type things, with the forward and back hinges on them there. They look a bit big. They do look a bit like massive, like his hands are huge. And look oddly disproportionate against his head. However, overall, they do what they're supposed to do. You can also see the plastic's a bit shinier on them compared to the kind of more matte skin tone on the closed fists that match the skin tone of the body a bit more. And we've got this special move piece, E.Honda's, what's it called, the 100 hand, is it 100 hand slap? There, with two kind of hands and the central piece here, and then the kind of motion effect, this kind of clear, swooshy motion effect to replicate the special move, the signature move from the video game. And as you can see, the way that works is you pop it over the wrist with the hand popped out, and then you pop the open palm hand in there, or the fist hand, you know, as you see fit, into to make the third hand in the middle, to then pop it on for the special move, which is all good, fine and dandy. My only criticism really is that, again, the more matte, natural skin tones on these two other hands in the way that they've been painted compared to the more plasticky, shiny skin tone on the one in the middle stands out a little bit. One other thing I noticed with the 100 hand slap is got the peg hole at the bottom for use with the little transparent stands. I've just grabbed this one from, I don't know, I've got like loads of them, several of them. I couldn't tell you which figure this originated with in the first instance. So you can pop that on there, but I don't really see why you would need to, because you know, you would be popping it on the wrist like that in pretty much all instances, wouldn't you? I don't know. Anyway, there's this special move in action. So the accessory selection's fine. It's all right. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Always good to have a head swap. Always good to have hand swaps. They open up your world of possibility, allow your imagination to engage more with the figure in the way that you display it, the way that you play with it, the way that you might want to photograph it, etc., etc. Jada always throws in a representation of one of their signature moves, and they have done with E.Honda, so that's all good and fine. It's a little bit smaller, a bit more of a limited collection. You didn't get a little stand and what have you within it. But I suppose there's a lot of plastic in the figure too, so the kind of budgetary controls around resources, perhaps. But it certainly helps. Certainly helps in terms of the way you want to engage with your figure. So that's all good and fine. So there you go. There's the accessory selection. Okay, cool. Let's now take a look at E.Honda next to a couple of other Street Fighter 2 figures, shall we? Okay, then, folks, well, to get started, here is E.Honda next to Blanca. Here he is next to Chun-Li. Here he is next to Guile. Here he is next to Vega. And here he is next to Ryu. Okay, then, folks, well, here is E.Honda making his way around on the turntable, so you can get a nice 360 look at the figure to finish off while I offer up my final thoughts. And, yeah, again, it's the same. It's always the same with these Jada Toys reviews. It's a good, solid addition to the line. He looks like who he's supposed to look like. The implementation is good. It's solid. The articulation, the sculpting, the paint applications, particularly when compared to contemporaries at this price range and at this scale. They're knocking Marvel Legends out the park. They're knocking, McFarlane DC Multiverse out the park in terms of what you get in hand. And even though I have to confess, I haven't found E.Honda here to be quite as engaging a figure articulation-wise as I have some of the others, which, as I explained earlier, I think is because of the body shape and the design of the character, which, they have to be accurate to that too. It's still a really solid addition to the line, and he looks great on the shelf next to the other Street Fighter 2 figures, so I've got no real complaints, even though there's a couple of niggles. The head, man, just like, I can't quite get that leaning forward but head up thing just right, because it just keeps popping off this weird shallow ball situation in the base of his skull. But even that's not bothered me all that much. He's just not kind of lived as a desk figure quite as excitingly as some others have done of late, or other Jada Toys Street Fighter 2 figures have. But overall, I definitely recommend him. And if you're collecting the line, you've got to have an E.Honda, haven't you? You know what I mean? You got no choice but to go for, you just have to. It's just the law, isn't it? To have a complete shelf. So, yeah, for the price, absolutely. I think these Jada Toys are second to none. They really are. So there we go. Okay, well, thanks for watching, folks. I hope you found that useful in terms of making your purchasing decisions. If you did, then do me a solid, do the thumbs up, hit the subscribe. And I'll tell you what, as well, mention me to a friend who might not be aware of who I am. If you enjoy my reviews, then, pay it forward a bit for me. Help me out in that respect. But all that remains to say is thanks for watching. Take it easy, have yourselves a lovely day, and swing back around again for another video sometime soon, all right? It'd be my pleasure to have you. All right? Take it easy, folks.